meeting is being recorded.
Okay, very good. Hello again, my name is Christian Guzman. I'm the president of the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, and this is the Northwest's April 2022 meeting. So we're now recording, and I would like Mr. Secretary Vic Christensen to do the roll call of attendees.
Okay, John Barbera.
Here.
Vic Christensen here. John DeMiglio is excused. Dan Dixon is excused. Craig Goldfarb.
Here.
Cynthia Gagne is excused. Christian Guzman.
Here.
Gwen Henry. Don't see her in attendees either. Melanie Lebrecq.
Here.
Kelly Miller.
Here.
Alec Norman.
Here.
That was very faint, Alec, so for future reference, you may want to speak up or do something.
Is this better or not?
That's better. It's still a little bit low, but it is much better.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Thomas Norman.
Present.
Adrian Ida Reyes Cruz.
Here.
Ray Regalado.
Here.
David Samperio. Don't see him in attendees either. Angela Sumner. No, don't see her either. So we have 11. So that is a quorum.
Okay, great. And then before we move on to general public comment, would you like to do the student reminder, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, if there are any students on the line, please raise your hand now so we can record your name and get the notice to your schools.
Mr. Secretary, I don't believe my name was called.
Okay, excellent.
Oh, you're right, it wasn't. Chris Valle.
Present.
Sorry about that. Okay, we do have one. Melanie, are you gonna record that or?
I apologize, Chair, but who motioned and second the roll call?
There is no motion for that.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
we don't really ever do it that way. So it's just if you want to put it in a way, you can put without objection or by general consent if you want to put that.
No biggie. Thank you for confirming.
Okay, very good. Alrighty then, let's move on now to the general public comment section of the meeting. So if anyone from the public, and then after that, if anyone from the council would like to make a public comment or an announcement of some sort, raise your hand and then we'll look for hands and we'll recognize you and you may speak for about 2 minutes.
Okay, real
on the topic
quick,
of the
Ashley, I've got your name so you can put your hand down. Unless. Yeah, okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, I see
Christian,
Laurie
it looks
Jacob.
like we have Lori with her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Laurie.
Hi, good evening, board. This is tough. Last Friday, we lost a real treasure in our community with the passing of Angela Romero, known to our friends as Romy. And Romy served on the neighborhood council, the Northwest Council. She lived in our area a few years back. And just so you know, the reason she served on the board, we had an opening at the time, and she was doing work with the Historical Society. And she actually picked our board as one to learn a little bit more about how a board works and understand the process. But if you don't know who Romy is, she was our San Pedro historian. And a few years back, when her mother passed suddenly, the way she dealt with her grief was to start walking through San Pedro. And she eventually walked every single block of our town. And that created an inspiration and a passion for her to learn more about these blocks and become an expert in the history of it. And she went back to school and she got her master's degree. And she was in the process of starting to try and create an actual historical museum. And she was my friend. And she led these walking tours. I went on 4 or 5 of them. They were a hoot. One of them, I did a haunted house tour in San Pedro. I did Vinegar Hill. And she led my Girl Scout troop. She was, was all about educating. She gave them a historical tour of the Warner Grand, Ports of Call, just shortly before it was torn down. And when we were studying inside government, she gave us a tour of the municipal building, also known as San Pedro City Hall, and took them through the jail and the courthouse and gave them the whole history of the building. And there's just nobody like that. There's nobody. I mean, she just was so special. And unfortunately, she was only 43 and she was diagnosed with cancer last June. So I just needed to share. I'm trying not to be too ridiculously emotional, but she was so special to our community. So I just needed everybody to be aware of that. And there'll be information. She will be featured in the next San Pedro Today magazine, and you'll learn a lot more about the amazing Romy. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Laurie. And I actually had the privilege to work with Angela a little bit at the Chamber of Commerce. So let's have a moment of silence for Angela Romero. She was a very intelligent woman. Any other hands then for the general public comment period? Mr. Secretary, did you have your hand up for an announcement?
Yes, but if Chris has one about Angela or something else, then I can let him go first.
Thanks. Yeah, just briefly, I knew Angela and I remember her very vividly from her time on the board, and she was just a great person. Clearly passionate and excited about what she was doing, very friendly, and really just one of those people who went out of their way to be more part of things than life would have otherwise required her to be, and really contributed to our appreciation and knowledge about San Pedro. In an unrelated matter, well, not entirely unrelated, I just to put it out there, I saw a video posted on Facebook's San Pedro page of 2 or 3 individuals on the roof of the facilities of Peck Park Pool, apparently engaged in obviously trespass and arson, more than likely. They're like setting fires up there. I tagged Harbor Patrol Station in there, but I intend to follow up. I mean, this is kind of a public safety issue, but not necessarily having a first name basis relationship with our new interim SLO. It's something I think everybody should be aware of. Apparently, my high school age daughter tells me that type of trespass and incident is relatively common at some of our schools and facilities, but this type of thing I didn't know. And clearly, lighting a fire on top of a public building is kind of a big deal, whether it's common or not. So if anyone has any information about those types of things, or and I'm looking at Melanie, has a more direct line to our police representatives, we probably want to follow up on that, because in this case, there's like full, facial recognition of the individuals involved and the time and place and all that stuff. So hopefully we can get some action on that.
Chris, I forwarded it to him. I saw it too.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. Mr. Secretary.
This is directed mainly at the committee chairs, but for anybody who may decide they want to be one later, then it'd be good to listen up to. Part of the responsibility of being a committee chair is both having meetings, and once you've had a meeting, to write up minutes to be posted. And that is not taking place as reliably and as often as it should. So I just wanted to say that as a reminder, that if you If you are, running a committee and aren't having regular meetings, you need to. And if you are having meetings and not writing up minutes and posting them, you need to do that. And if you can't do that, then maybe you should think about somebody else being a chair for that committee. Because that is part of the responsibility of being a committee chair. That is all.
Okay, Kelly Miller.
Yes, I'm trying to join on a new computer and I don't know if it's going to show my name. So I'll raise my hand again if it comes in. I just realized I have to install Zoom on it. Okay, so it might let me come in now. I don't know if it's going to show my name.
Okay, we'll look out for that.
Okay,
April
thank you.
Jones. April Jones.
Oh, there I am. Okay. Hi. I just wanted to make sure you guys can see and hear me because I don't see the options to turn on the video or audio.
We
Do
can hear you.
represent a government organization, or do you
No.
typically the public doesn't get video privileges on the
Okay.
neighborhood council meetings?
Okay, good to know. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something on my end. Thanks for the confirming. Oh,
Victor, Christian, that is April Jones with Andy Harris, who's going to be talking about the skate park.
Oh, okay. In that case, we'll give you the video sharing and then. Did you have a public comment beyond that then?
no, I just wanted to make sure. I've never seen it set up like this before, but I did want to say sorry for your loss.
Recording in progress.
But that was it. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands for public comment. We'll give it one more second. All right, then let's move on now then. The next item before us will be the homelessness liaison report. Laurie Jacobs, would you like to give that to us?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I'm not my perky self tonight. Was Chris gonna, or somebody gonna show it on the screen? The report? Okay, thank you so much. So I try just to get, focus on a few issues each time, because truly, if I gave a homelessness liaison report covering everything going on, it would be about 125 pages. So always a reminder, if you see somebody out there who seems to be struggling, experiencing homelessness, go to the lahop.org site and you can go into the portal, report where you see them, approximately how old they are, a description, what they might be wearing, how often you see them there. You can report it anonymously if you're uncomfortable with that. But this triggers the outreach team over at Harbor Interfaith to send out a team to try and help somebody. They will try to go at least 2 or 3 times because usually people who are experiencing homelessness don't necessarily stay in one place. So if you want to help, that's how you can help. Makes a big difference. The current situation with local shelters and interim housing in San Pedro, they're mostly full. The interim housing that has 40 units by the county, full. Bridge housing, they're at capacity of 75. Normally it would be capacity at 100. They're still at COVID safety distancing, so at 75. Same with the Wilmington Bridge home. The Harbor City Tiny Home Village, currently, this is as of a week and a half ago, had 68 residents out of 75. As far as local encampment updates, which I think probably people are most interested in, the one at Gulch Road, which even concerns are even more hot because the baseball season has started and they're playing baseball at Block Field across from this. The number of tents have increased. When I went by there a couple days, there were close to 20 tents there. Council member Joe Buscaino has designated this as what they call a 4118 area, which prohibits any type of camping, sleeping, tents, any of that. The signs officially will be posted later this week. And then they have a like a grace period of like a week. And at that point, law enforcement is allowed to come there and either issue citations or arrest them if they refuse to leave. The outreach workers are very much aware of this. The 4118 designated sites are a top priority for all the outreach workers, you know, from Harbor Interfaith, Salvation Army, mental health, etc. As far as, well, you went too far. The Lomita McCoy, yeah, good stop right there. They actually had to shut that one down to do some construction. The people that were displaced, and there's probably somewhere between 50 to 100 people living in there. It's hard to tell because they're constantly in and out. It's been a difficult site. It has not been designated 4118 as of right now. CD15 has regular sanitation going in there. When they were displaced last week, when the fencing went in, they pretty much moved to outer areas. This is a concern even when something's designated 4118, if they're, for whatever reason, they're not accepting the services or the shelter that's being offered, they're just going to end up in another location. As far as emergency housing vouchers, LA County got 6,806 of those. The service providers are working very hard on getting those issued. They have to do a 40-page application. They're getting housing vouchers, but we don't have enough landlords who are accepting them. So if you know of a landlord who has an interest, there's a signing bonus of $2,500 for each unit they open up to. There's some help with repair costs if they need to make any updates to their property. So if you're interested in more information on that, please contact me. I'd be glad to help with that. But the big thing is the Blue Ribbon Commission on Homelessness, which, if you haven't heard, that was ordered by the county supervisors to do basically an oversight of LAHSA. And they spent several months doing that. My boss was one of the people on all those meetings. And I'm not going to go through all this because it's a lot, but you could read the 7 basic points that they made. And the report's over 100 pages. The point is, if you read through, and I've got some links here, almost everybody who was involved with this report, the supervisors, people from the city, they all agreed that this commission actually hit on some good ideas to try and revamp that organization. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to ask them, but it's way too complicated for me to even try to delve into it. Just know that we'll get the homeless count numbers probably in end of May or June. I'm expecting them to have increased for a lot of reasons. And, you know, we all kind of need to get educated and do what we can to try and be supportive. It's a very complex issue. And you can see when he scrolled up, I have comments from some of the supervisors and some of the observations from other people. So I don't want to take any more of your time, but thank you for any interest anybody has in delving into these complex issues of housing and mental health, etc. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Laurie. And just as a super brief tidbit, since it kind of relates to it, when I was a child, my mom got a Section 8 voucher and she was on the waiting list until I was in my 30s. And then she didn't get into a place because she couldn't find a landlord to accept the voucher. So it is very tough out there for those people who get vouchers.
And Christian, I'm glad you said that. First of all, you notice I never used the word Section 8 when I was talking about the housing vouchers. And that's because just the word Section 8 seemed to have a stigma associated with them. And people have this vision of you know, a drunken person who doesn't want to work, and you know, they don't. So we're calling them the emergency housing vouchers, and those are being issued much quicker than the Section 8. It still may take a couple of months, but nothing like what your family went through. So thank you for sharing that.
Okay, very good. Well, let's move on now then. The next item before us is the Channel Street Skate Park presentation. So whoever's here to give that, hopefully you have screen sharing privileges. If you don't, we'll give them to you. And I think we had April Jones. I don't know if we have any other people who are also going to comment on that part, but we'll look.
Andy over here too, Andy Harris on the other side.
Oh yeah, I see him. We'll make him a panelist as well. So do April and Andy both need screen sharing privileges or just one?
Hi, I can hop on now. I can share my screen. I have the proposal up and a few pictures that I have taken since the proposal. So if you want to go ahead and screen share, I can kind of go over everything.
Okay, yeah,
I
we
have
just
to
have to
stop
find your
screen
name.
share. I have to stop before you can do it. There you go.
And just as a reminder, the regular time frame is 20 minutes, including Q&A. And I will start a timer just to keep us on schedule.
Okay. Oh, I see Andy now.
Hi.
Okay, and yeah, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and screen share, and then I have the project up right now.
You have to hit the screen share button
Oh,
at the bottom.
okay, I see a mute button, and that's all I see.
Oh, you have to make her a co-host, Christian.
Yeah.
Or Vic.
Okay. Okay, I'm, oh, here we go. Join as panelist. Okay, start video, and now.
I see you.
So share screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Let's see. Can everyone see my screen? Not yet, right?
I can.
Oh, you can? So
Yeah, I can see you.
you can see the proposal.
No, I can see you.
Okay, so I clicked on screen share and it says host disabled participant screen sharing. So I'm gonna need access to screen share.
Retry your sharing.
Okay. Screen share, only host all panelists. Okay. Let's do that. All righty, here we are. All right, can you guys see this now?
No, it needs to be
What?
bigger.
Needs to be
Oh
bigger.
yeah, well, but
We can see your screen. It just needs to be zoomed in. Yeah.
okay. So here we are here. So yeah. Well, first, thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our goals for the San Pedro Skate Park Association. So as a community-driven nonprofit, we want to expand our efforts to not only reopen the Channel Street Skate Park, but to actually beautify the entire area that sits next to the existing skate park. So along with the reopening this summer, we want to bring in professional mural artists to paint the outside of the wall facing Pacific Avenue, which is the outside of the skate park, and also the pillars that are holding up the 110 freeway. So we are in contact with Patrick O'Donnell's office, and we have started the initial contact and process in gaining permission to actually get permission to use the pillars for this beautification project. So that's been started, but we do believe by improving and brightening the area that it will have a positive visual impact on benefiting and uplifting the residents of San Pedro, especially during the ongoing COVID crisis. So, you know, that's pretty much what our plans are. And I do have a picture right here of some of the pillars. There are several, but here is the existing pillars. So most of you will recognize this, the crossroads right here. So this area is not the most visually pleasing as you drive by. So yeah, this will be really cool to just like get in there and just bring people in through the visual arts. And yeah, we have a budget going as far as paint, scissor lift rentals. Most of the artists would be volunteering, but even then the paint themselves and the scissor lift rentals, you know, the funds would go towards that. But also I do like the idea of creating some sort of educational content that we can use for maybe aspiring artists to document the professional artists who do this for a living, to see the process and what it takes to do like a large scale mural. So I'm a professional filmmaker, so like by default, I'd be doing that anyways. So I thought that would be a cool educational side thing to go with the beautification project. And also on my side and my personal life, I do teach video editing and filmmakers to beginner filmmakers. So that's kind of something I do already as like a side thing. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I have to say. Andy, would you like to add anything to all that?
Sure. And thanks, April, for bringing that stuff out. It's kind of cool to see it in writing. You guys can all hear me, correct? Okay. Just to give you guys a little bit of an update on what's going on with the actual construction and our status as of right now in April of 2022, we have probably at best estimate about a month, maybe two, at most 2 months left of construction before we are ready to get LADBS down there to inspect our work and pave the way for us to reopen. Hopefully, I'm hoping sometime in June. There's a little bit of a drainage fix going on right now, and we're fixing some concrete areas that were a little bigger than we expected after the contractor that worked on the freeway had to remove sections of the skate park in order to build the new lane over top of us. So we're kind of just been going full bore for the last 6 months on getting this thing up to code and ready to open for the community. During that time, because all of you that live in this area have definitely seen it, especially once the pandemic really started taking charge, we started seeing a lot of litter, a lot of homelessness, a lot of vagrancy, illegal dumping, a lot of people sleeping in their cars down there. And if you drive by today, you'll see that for the most part is non-existent, because we have a group of people that are down there on a daily basis working, painting, planting plants. We did a bunch of low water plants out on the corner of Gibson and Channel last weekend, and we can plan to do more. But there's an element of people that care about the skate park and the surrounding area that are down there on a regular basis that has really helped clean this place up. And on top of that, we signed a contract with Athens Trash Services. We have dumpsters down there that are behind locked steel gates that we can access regularly to clean up all of the trash that we find on a daily basis. And also we have portable restrooms down there as well, behind steel gates as well, locked steel gates, So people, when they're working down there, and eventually when they're skateboarding down there, will have use of bathroom facilities. So that's about where we're at right now on the project.
Yeah, and we do have plans to, basically the opening of the skate park is not the end game. Like, we are developing them on a nonprofit as, you know, outside of the skate community and more of a city community. So we have a lot of plans coming up. Even for Earth Day, we have like a clothing drive event coming up. So we're more involved in things like that too.
Yeah, that's going to be a really interesting event down in downtown. That it's actually a fundraiser for the skate park that a local screen printing company, Cali Mucho, is holding down in the parking lot adjacent to Nico's, where they're going to have a company come down that recycles clothing, so people can bring their clothing down, their clothing that they no longer use, and this clothing will be donated to this company and they will recycle it. Cali Mucho will be down screen printing t-shirts and other things. There's going to be a small portable skate park in the parking lot down there as well, for mostly for kids to skate. We might even have like some skate lessons going on that day, as well as 2 live bands on the corner. So, and that all of the proceeds from that event will go towards the rehabbing of the San Pedro skate park, of the Channel Street skate park. Other than that, I don't really know much more, anything else to really let you guys know. I mean, we did just get a really beautiful mural done by a well-known skateboard park artist. His name is Jay Meir from up in Portland. When you drive by the skate park, you can see it on the big pillar inside the skate park, and it's really beautiful. It says our name, Channel Street, with kind of on a scroll and with a skateboard and a concrete trowel, because again, we do all the concrete work down there ourselves. There it is that you can see now. You can see that from the street. It's pretty cool. So that's just another example of trying to, you know, beautify this area. And I always think when I drive by that thing over the years, over 20 years of being down there, how ugly the area was. But now we're starting to see a lot of color down there, and it's really changing before our eyes.
Okay, great. Are there a couple questions, or we'll look for hands?
And just for time sense, it's about 10.5 minutes left. So at this point, plenty of time for questions, I think.
Okay, so we'll look for hands from the public. I don't see any hands from the public. Craig Goldfarb.
Hi. First of all, I want to say great job, long overdue. We were promised this a lot, you know, when they shut it down, that it would be opened very shortly. I still have concerns about security, you know, and I would like to, you know, I've talked to you, Andy, about it before at other meetings. So I'd like you to address, if you could address the board on that, I'd appreciate it. And I did want to comment, referring to the unhoused as vagrants tends to be pejorative.
Okay, that's directed towards me, correct, Craig? Security issues. One of the main things that we've done in terms of securing the area, I'm telling you, has been just the ability to be back down there. That's the first step in securing that area, is eyes on the place. We're down there every single day. The second thing is getting the dumpsters, getting the restrooms, and getting them secured behind steel doors that were welded by local community members. This is all a do-it-yourself project, not just the skateboard park. It's all community coming down there, but getting those things behind secure areas, but still having the ability where people can get access to throw trash away, to use restroom facilities. It's another step in securing the area, because before, and when I say before, I mean when we were down there, when the skate park was open 8 years ago, and before that, we didn't have bathroom facilities. We didn't have any means of throwing trash away besides just going and throwing it into Big Nick's trash can. So the ability to be down there and legally be down there, because we are tenants of the city of Los Angeles now, and having those facilities, I think that's the first step in security. Now, we plan on signage. We plan on putting some signage up that, one, states the rules, two, states all of the codes about illegal dumping, about overnight camping, all of those necessary signs need to go up. There's even talk about, I don't think we have the ability to really put cameras up down there, but there's definitely the talk of actually putting dummy cameras up there to maybe cut back on the illegal dumping and the sleeping down there. Is there anything specific, Craig, that you wanted to talk about security? Is there any specific issues?
I'm
wanna talk
more
about?
concerned with, because before there was a lot of drug activity at the park,
Yes.
and there was a lot of just, I know there was illegal gambling going on, some other stuff, hazing, not hazing, but bullying of kids and stuff like that. So I was concerned about that. And I know some of that stuff has also happened up at the skate park at Peck Park. So I'm,
Yeah, I would venture to guess that a lot of that stuff might happen wherever kids congregate, period, not just a skate park. I don't really, I mean, I don't have all the answers for it.
Can I piggyback off that real quick?
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks for the question. That is actually a concern of ours too. I mean, that's definitely been there in the past. And for the last 7 years, we were not even allowed to be in that area. And it's gotten really bad. And since we've been back as a community, and not skateboard community, but like community of San Pedro, like, and even John at Big Nick's has seen the before, the after, and then the before and after again. But also, just to throw it out there, we do have liability insurance for the skate park and the surrounding area. So we hope to, by being a community-driven nonprofit, we're actually gathering a bigger and bigger, not like backing of community. So just by us being present in the community, in and out of the skate park, will show the younger generation, like, it's not okay to do what has been done in the past. Like, things are changing for the positive. So as far as like kids being kids, the only thing that we can do is really come together and just show, like, be a positive influence for the community and the next generation. So that's our goal. And so as a nonprofit, we're all on the same page. And even the younger generation who probably used to do some of those things are actually like stepping up and like headlining some of these like community driven events and teaching kids how to skateboard, on a healthy level. So that's really inspiring to see the next generation like kind of stepping up into adulthood. So I just kind of want to throw that out there too.
We've got about 4 minutes left and 2 hands up.
Okay,
So
excellent. We also have a question from, let's take a question. And Abe, go ahead, Diane and Abe.
Thank you. I mostly put my hand up because I wanted to congratulate Andy, because I know what a long haul it's been. And I want to thank him for hanging in there through everything that has been thrown at him during that time period. And then I wanted to comment, there will be another set of eyes when the Gappy Greenbelt gets completed, because the Gappy Greenbelt will connect through the west side of the parking lot there. I don't know if you're aware of that, Andy, but
Yes, I am. I came to a couple meetings with you guys over the years.
over the years, we're still waiting, but it should be coming soon now, I think.
I'm really excited about it. I think it's absolutely key. And I think the skate park plays a big anchor in the midst of that.
Yeah.
And all this public art that me and April have been talking about fits very well with that theme of this Gappy Greenbelt.
Right. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, did you still have a question?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to, again, as it's been done before, really commend and congratulate April and especially Andy, because, since at this point, really just about the time I moved to San Pedro about 9 years ago, the Channel Street has been in flux, and as much as a community benefit that Peck Park has been, I know that the skaters have missed that. I, as a photographer and as a hanger around, I've missed it being open, and it's like the amount of perseverance that you have shown just to stick with this process, which has been, really, compared to any other public project, like you guys have really gone into like uncharted territory in terms of making this happen. And I think it's a fantastic example for other people in the community about what, not only what's possible, but what it takes when you take these things on yourself. So thanks again. And in terms of any sort of partnership or assistance or volunteers you might need, the Youth and Outreach Committee, since this sort of thing is kind of right up our alley, would be more than happy, myself especially, to help out in any way possible. And if you have any plans or ideas for events and things in the future, that's the type of thing we would definitely like to be on board with. So just hit me up.
Thank you. That sounds awesome. There will be things coming forward. And I'm sure April had something to say about this too, because there's a lot of opportunity, whether it be cleanups, whether it be paint days, whether it be, there's a lot of things that we can do going forward that we can involve youth and the general public. So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Got about a minute left for any last comments.
Yeah, just real quick, we plan on doing
All righty.
more community.
Well, I thank you for your time, April and Andy. Excellent, excellent. We look forward to the opening of it and the success of it. So the next item before us is our government officials and government representatives. If there are representatives of any government offices, you have the opportunity to make a report and then raise your hand. We will recognize you. I think Octaviano Rios from the Department of Neighborhood and Pound. Also see Scott Gaines, I think public safety. So we'll go with Octaviano Rios first, and then I think to Sean Kearns. Go ahead, Octaviano.
Octaviano, I see you're unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, must have been my my headset. Sorry about that, folks. Thank you, Mr. Chair, board members. My name is Octaviano. I'm with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. I have a very brief update here, announcements. I have some notes here to share that the city council meetings will resume in person. So just a clarification on that. The city council meetings will resume in person, but Something to highlight is that city council committees, commission meetings, and any other Brown Act meetings will still be held virtually, including neighborhood council meetings. So we'll keep you posted on, of course, the neighborhood council system and how that's going to roll out. The department is working with our neighborhood councils to meet with the Department on Disability for their meeting locations and compliance with disability regulations and laws. So just keep that in mind. That's one of many things that we are doing as a neighborhood council system to prepare for in-person meetings. So we'll keep you posted on additional updates as they come along. With regards to the 2023 neighborhood council elections, the department had announced that we were going to have a town hall in March to share our strategy plan for promoting the neighborhood council elections, and to also request feedback from board members and stakeholders. That hasn't happened yet, so we'll keep you posted on the date for that town hall. In the meantime, I also I want to remind the board, specifically the outreach committee chair and vice chair, that we are available. I'm available to meet with you both, as well as with Tom Sung, and at times, if available, the general manager, to share our tools with you, but mainly to listen to your plans and mutually activate the season of elections and preparation for it. So reach out to me when you're available with your schedule and availability. And if I don't hear from you as a committee, I'll reach out to you as well. So we'll touch base. With regards to the Zoom license, the department is tapering out its support and covering the cost for the 99 neighborhood councils Zoom licenses. So we're asking our neighborhood councils to please place on the agenda, and I believe you've already done that for tonight, to cover the cost of approximately $200 for your license. The department's still looking into whether neighborhood councils can purchase additional licenses on their own, along with additional support from staff. So we're looking at all the technicalities on the back end to see if we're able to support that as a department on our end for neighborhood councils to purchase additional Zoom licenses. And last but not least, to the community, San Pedro and the harbor area, my condolences to your loss of Angela Romero. It saddens me really to lose such a great San Pedro ambassador, artist, historian, and storyteller. I remember so many stories and great stories from her. She was one of the few people that gave her time very generously to me and provided such hospitality when I became the mayor's harbor area representative. So I remember her kindness, her hospitality, her diplomacy, which, as you know, these days is very difficult to find in civic life. So thank you, Romy. Thank you to her family for having such a great person in our lives and around us, and also while she was serving briefly, but she did serve on the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. So my condolences again to everybody for that huge loss at such a young age. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes my report.
Okay, good to hear from you, Octaviano. Sean, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, council members. My name is Sean Kearns, and I'm with the office of Congresswoman Nanette Barragan. I hope everyone's week is starting out well. Just wanted to provide a few updates on behalf of what the Congresswoman is working on lately. Just this last month, she wrote a letter to the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness to include specific recommendations from our Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority and feedback from our local service providers such as people assisting the homeless, to include within their next federal strategic plan to prevent and end homelessness. And so amongst the different requests that were made in this letter, one of them is to ensure livable wages and invest in better building capacity for care and service workers. As those who have attended the CD15 working group and others who have engaged with our homeless service providers have heard, the turnover and issues with retention are causing a significant burden. And so we're hoping that at the federal level, they could include some of these recommendations so that we can improve the work environment for our service providers. Additionally, one of the other requests was to remove justice system barriers that prevent housing folks who are formerly incarcerated. We need to make sure as folks re-enter that they also have access to enter housing and don't return into the same cycle of crime that has plagued them and our society in the past. Also, last month, we celebrated as President Biden signed one of the Congresswoman's bills into law. The name of this bill is the John Lewis National Institutes on Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Endowment Revitalization Act. I know that's a mouthful, but in summary, what this means is that it will increase investments into schools that are conducting minority health and health disparities research and also diversify our scientific workforce. Now you may be wondering why the name after John Lewis, and the reason is in the previous Congress, when Representative Barragan first had the idea for this bill, she approached the late Congressman Lewis for his insights because he's somebody who had worked closely with our HBCUs and our minority serving institutions for several years. And he was a supporter and one of her first co-sponsors of the bill. Unfortunately, it did not reach through a vote to the Senate during the time when John Lewis was alive. And during this session, the Congresswoman reintroduced the bill, renamed after John Lewis. And we're really grateful that it was able to pass in both the House and Senate and be signed into law by Biden last month. Also, coming up here just at the end of the month is the appropriations process, where members of Congress have the opportunity to weigh in on the federal budget for the year ahead. So this would be looking at the budget for fiscal year 2023. So the Congresswoman is using this opportunity to request significant funding for zero emissions transportation, clean equipment for our ports, health research, tenant-based voucher programs, and much, much more. But one thing that she addressed just this last week was leading a letter that would request at least $130 million to the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program. This is a program that's led by the National Park Service, and it invests in our urban parks and green space in underserved communities. So this is really critical funding to expanding those outdoor recreation programs within San Pedro, within Wilmington, the harbor area, and throughout our district. And then the last update I wanted to provide, this doesn't, directly from the Congresswoman, but it was that last week, Biden paused the federal student loan repayment through August 31st. The Congresswoman commends Biden for taking this action, but she's going to continue to push the administration to provide significant student debt cancellation, something that would be more meaningful to really helping out generations of Americans in the long term. So again, I thank the council for allowing me to provide this update. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be glad to take those.
Okay. Currently, I can't see any hands. Let's go to Joanna Rodriguez.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Joanna Rodriguez, the Harbor and Watts representative for Mayor Garcetti. First off, I have just 3 updates for everyone. The first one, I don't know if anyone from the county is here, but I did want to just make sure to share this. The county has a last week launched on March 31st, launched a program similar to the city. It's a guaranteed income program. And it's going to be identifying 1,000 residents in the county, including the city of LA, and providing them with $1,000 every month for 3 years. So unlike the city one, which was only for a year, the county is providing this program or this funding for 3 years. So I want to make sure that our residents in the city of LA apply for it because they do qualify. So that the deadline to apply is April the 13th. The application's only open for 2 weeks. So it's coming up really quick. April the 13th, I believe, is on a Wednesday. So please make sure to apply if you are interested in the program. And then the other thing is more of a heads up that it's coming. The city of LA will provide $12 million in grant to eligible businesses in the city of LA that need financial assistance as they recover from COVID-19. The grant will be up to like $15,000. So if anyone is interested, the applications will open April the 18th. I want to say that's on a Monday. So I'm like looking at my calendar. Yes, it's next Monday. So please keep an eye out. I will be sending in the newsletter later today. So I'll make sure to include a link to that, to our website, but it's the ewddlacd.com website. And if you click on Recover Resources, you'll find the Small Business Rental Assistance Program. And then lastly, I wanted to mention is that the State of the City address will occur this coming Thursday, which is on the 14th. For anyone that has any question, the State of the City is where the mayor will be highlighting the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget proposal. One thing that I'll just say, just to give you a preview, is that this year's budget will be more conservative than past years to help replenish our reserves. So more information to come. If anyone is interested, you can stream the State of the City address on Facebook, Twitter, or on Channel 34. So more information to come. But I did want to make sure that everyone knew that it's this Thursday, April the 14th. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Laurie Jacobs, did you have a question?
Yes, I had my hand up when Sean was speaking. I hope no other stakeholders were missed since I was missed. Sean, hi, Joanna, sorry. Sean gave a really informative report, a lot of good stuff. And I was just wondering if in the future, maybe if it's possible, not too much work, if you could submit your report maybe a few days before our board meeting, so it can be part of our packet and the board members and stakeholders have a chance to look at all that good information. Another thing is when you were talking about some of the issues with criminal history and being a barrier to getting housing, I believe there's a proposed city council motion, LA City, to actually eliminate criminal records from having to be reported, especially for landlords and vouchers, because you've served your time and it's become a barrier. So I'm trying to follow that. You might want to be aware of that. And thank you for your other comments as far as some of the barriers to homelessness. I'd love to get some of that information that you went over in a report. Thank you kindly.
Well,
Craig,
thank you for
did
the
you have a
comments,
question?
Lori, and I'll be glad to send over the update to the board chair in the future.
Excellent, that sounds good. Craig, did you have a comment?
I had some questions for Joanna, since she's from you're from the mayor's office, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so as on April 15th, or May 15th, pardon me, looks like they're going to be kicking out a lot of people that are in mobile homes from or RVs around town. And I was wondering whether the mayor's office has done anything to or the city council or LAS or anybody else to have local parking for these people in the RVs.
And I'm so sorry, who's the one that asked this question?
Excuse me?
Can I get your name? I'm sorry, it's so tiny. I
That's
can't
okay.
see.
It's Councilman Craig Goldfarb.
Oh, okay. You know what? Greg, you said, or Craig?
Craig, C-R-A-I-G.
Okay, Craig, I don't have much information on this. So if I can get your email address, I can get some more information and then get back to you if that's okay with you.
Okay, well, if you leave your email address, because I'm sure you have a city one, I will send you mine.
Yes, of course. There's no way, there's not an option for me to put it on the chat. I don't see a chat chat option, but my email address is Joanna, and it's JOHANNA .Rodriguez, ROD as in David, RIGUEZ @lacity.org. And Christian has my email address, so you can also get it from him if you
thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. The next item before us then is our public safety reports.
We have
So
another
if there are
hand
any
up.
officers,
No.
I'm sorry, Mr. Secretary, I didn't. Who was that?
Scott Gaines? Scott Gaines?
I think he's the public representative, right?
I am
Or
the
public safety guy. Let's see.
I-
Let's check in with him.
I'm Port Police.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're moving on to the public safety part. So go ahead, Scott Gaines, and then if we have any other public safety representatives, we'll follow up with them. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, or actually good evening, everybody. I'm Sergeant Scott Gaines, Los Angeles Port Police. I head the community relations unit over there. I know that we don't encompass much of your territory. We used to have the Channel Street Skate Park, but then it was turned over to Department of Transportation and CHP. So now they're handling that. We do handle some of the greenway that's along Gappy Street. So we still patrol those areas. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of some of the things that we've had in the past time I've talked to you. We've enhanced our commercial enforcement. It doesn't affect you as much, but it's been in Wilmington. And one of the main things that's been going on over there is there's been a lot of truck and chassis traffic going up the smaller streets. And since then we have given, well, just in March alone, 462 citations with a total since we've started this task force, 1,577 citations for parking and driving in the wrong areas. We're also investigating, and there's been a rash of copper thefts where they've pulled the wires out of 22nd Street Park. And the lighting, I'm sure it's been happening all over the city. It's been happening along Harbor Boulevard. I believe it's been happening on some parts of Gaffey as well. And we actually caught some individuals. We did a stakeout and caught some of the people pulling the copper wires. So let's stop it for a while, but we'll see if it comes up again. We're trying to remain vigilant there. At the same time, we also have some skateboard problems where we just opened up, in the beginning of March or late February, we opened up the promenade, and the skateboarders have been tearing up those new benches that are along the promenade. So they're going to find ways. They might close the promenade. We're not sure what they're going to do with it. So we're increasing our patrols there, but at the same time, we can't be there all the time. So we're going to find some ways to protect the benches in the area. In terms of vandalism, Southwest Marine and Burst 70, the old Westways terminal, they were heavily tagged. So we had our construction and maintenance division repaint the area. We've increased our patrols in the area. And so far, We have not had any more tagging at berth 70, but and we did, I think it was, today is Monday. Yes, I think it was Saturday night or Sunday night. We caught 5 individuals entering Southwest Marine. So they were all arrested and cited. So hopefully we could stop that. Apparently it is a new YouTube videos and a lot on social media. I guess it's one of the new things for taggers to try and tag Southwest Marine and then take pictures of it from across with their names on it. So we have to stem the flow there by getting enough sites and people so it actually gets on social media that we will cite you and then maybe they'll stop. Let's see, is there anything else there? Oh, that's pretty much. Oh, and then the last but not least, you mentioned, I don't remember who it was, but they mentioned how there were some youth that were lighting a fire on top of a building. We had a smoldering fire. It wasn't like a full flame, but it was like a lot of smoke. We kept smelling smoke under berth 84 in the new public dock near the San Pedro Town Square. We Fire Station 5 came and doused the area with water, and then they had to cut out a lot of the wood forming there. But there's been reports that there were some kids underneath. They crawled underneath during low tide, and they might have lit a fire there. Why they're lighting a fire during low tide, going to get trapped up there, it's beyond me. But then again, young children, anything's possible. But we're trying to remain vigilant, trying to keep an eye out for that one as well, so it doesn't happen again, because it's a brand new dock and we don't want it to go up like the ones that happened in Wilmington. But that's what we have right now. That's pretty much all I have. And I'm really answering any questions if
Okay, we'll look for hands then. All righty, well, thank you, Scott Gaines, and we hope to see you again next month.
You're welcome.
The next item before the council is the consent calendar, item number 7. So if anyone wants, there are 2 items, A and B. If anyone wants one of the items taken from the consent calendar motion, then you can say so, and then we'll vote on that one separately.
I want to pull B.
Okay. In that case, then we'll pick up the first item. Mr. Secretary, with the roll call for the approval of the stakeholder minutes from March.
Excuse.
Okay, John for 7A, just the minutes. John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb,
Yes.
Christian Guzman,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Alec Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz, she's still here?
I do not see her name currently. Let me double check attendees. No, it doesn't look like she's online right now.
Oh, she must have just dropped off. Ray Regalado,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
So that is 11 ayes and no nays. So that carries.
Okay, very good. So we'll move on now to B. Craig, do you want to comment on B?
Yes. In view of the fact that Ray is a bond commissioner and he's forming rules for neighborhood councils, he had to opt out in our last meeting when we were doing stuff on the code of conduct. I think it's inappropriate to have somebody who is not you know, who has split loyalties and otherwise be in charge of that committee. It's, I mean, it's really seems to be inappropriate, and I don't think he could be unbiased, especially with what he's been doing in terms of bunk and with the stuff that Diana and him dreamed up that we're going to be talking about later on. So I think this is an inappropriate. Thank you.
Okay. Well, as chair of this council and as being a chair of a committee in the past and currently, the main thing that we have to do is serve the committee members or the council members. And in my experience work with Ray, I think that service to the rest of the committee members will be his first priority. I think that if there's a diverse set or policies that might come up at the committee level, that he'll listen in a very neutral way. And he's listened to the council before as its presidents in a neutral way and managed to work with a lot of different opinions, as I said before. And so I think that he would be a good fit for the chairman of that committee. Let's see if there are any other comments. I think I see Victorson. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, since Octaviano was still here, if he could give any input from the Dunn side as far as any conflict of interest and that sort of thing.
I think, yeah, okay, go ahead, Octaviano.
Can you hear me, Mr. Chair?
We can hear you.
Okay. As far as I know, there isn't any conflict for the commissioner to serve on a committee. I can circle back and double check with the city attorney's office, but this wouldn't be something that would necessarily activate a conflict of interest. But I can double check, and if there is, Board Member Regalado would discuss that directly with the city attorney's office and comply with those with that advice. So thank you.
Okay, any other comments? We'll look for hands. Vic, did you want to continue the comment?
Yeah, well, yes, based on what Octaviano said, if we so choose, would it be allowed to vote on this now with a contingency of it not being a problem with the city attorney? And then if it is, I mean, assuming we vote on it and it carries, and there is a conflict, that it reverts back to the current state? Or would we have to completely wait until we find out the answer to the question?
Yeah, I think that we could do that. We sort of did that with the potential advertising of that community forum for the mayoral forum. So essentially that motion would be like this. However, Ray Regalado, becoming the committee chairman, he's really not empowered with any other explicit powers that he doesn't already have as a council member. So if there was no conflict of him becoming a council member while being a commissioner, I really wouldn't see any conflict at all if he were to become a committee chair. So if there's a motion and a second to do what Mr. Secretary is proposing, that would be fine. I want to listen to Ray's comment first. But if not, I think that we could move on like the minutes say, or not the minutes. We could do it as the agenda says it. So go ahead, Ray Regalado. Let's listen to comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just kind of wanted to just put into context the fact that While being on the board of neighborhood commissioners, I was also president of the neighborhood council, and I don't believe I let my the term biases get in the way of neutrally representing our neighborhood council. In fact, it allowed me to be able to understand in more detail the challenges that neighborhood councils go through sometimes, and be able to represent that challenge to the board of neighborhood commissioners. I'm happy to do whatever the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council Board chooses, but I have you know, I think I have proven I think I'm hearing somebody speak, but I think I have proven that I can be unbiased, and I don't look at the opportunity to weigh in on things that that could have a conflict, as I did with the code of conduct. Since I was going to vote on it, I did recuse myself from the vote. But I do want to say that it's easy to, you know, to put out an accusation that is just not showing up, that or has shown up in the past, and I'm not one to try to argue any fact or defend myself. I think my reputation will see that I do not go out of the way to do anything but represent our community members, and our neighborhood council to the best of my ability. I'm not subject to going out there and trying to weigh in unfairly. Now, the issue of the code of conduct, that particular piece that both Diana and I worked on was actually something that was, you know, we had a motion going back last month about supporting it or not supporting it, but as in most cases, it didn't come with any type of suggestion as to how to make it different or better, or why it shouldn't be. And all we did was just kind of fill in the blanks. And actually, it was more of a conversation. I would have to say that it was a conversation that, in answering questions that Diana had posed to me. Diana did all the hard work. She did all the legwork on this. And I think she did a superb job on that. So I just wanted to let you all know on that. Anyway, I'll be happy to do whatever the board thinks is appropriate. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Mr. Vice President.
Hi, thanks. Separate from any considerations on the specific issue, I think that if there is no specific prohibition in the law in general or in our bylaws, that we shouldn't necessarily inhibit our own board actions, sort of pending whatever kind of advice we might get from city attorney or anybody else externally. That is, we can go ahead with the board's determination on this. And if someone wants to investigate and possibly object to whatever action we take, we shouldn't sort of act essentially with prejudice and until we've heard back from an external authority. So we can go ahead and, you know, hopefully vote on this on its own merit without having to presume that there's something wrong with it until we are told otherwise.
Madam Treasurer.
Yeah, I agree with Ray was president and was able to be bond commissioner as president of Northwest. So I don't think that is a problem. As also, the other thing is the city attorney isn't going to notify the board. What's going to happen is the city attorney is going to have a conversation with Ray and what he can do and what he can't do. It's going to be a private matter between the city attorney and Ray. And as Octaviano stated, so it's not going to be the board told anything. If he sees a problem with it, then he'll tell Ray what he can do and what he can't do and what remedies he needs to do. So, yeah. Anyway.
Okay, Greg, before we go to vote on this.
Yes, I want to go again, mind you, you know, the community did not re-elect Ray to the board. He had to come in again through the back door. And we are all beholden to the community, and the community's watching. So you're appointing somebody to a committee because of this is still again inappropriate, and it shows a disrespect to our community. I like our community. I respect it. I saw the votes. You saw the votes. Now you're putting Ray in a place of you know, a position that I personally think he's unqualified for. But regardless of whether what I think he's qualifications for, you guys should be paying attention to the community.
Okay, let me check that. No, that I don't at all. Vic, did you want to make a motion of some sort?
I would love to do that, but I can't let that last part pass because I'm looking for a dead horse that keeps getting beaten. This keeps coming up over and over again. Yes, at the last board election, Ray was not reelected, so he was not on the board. At the last vacancy election, he was there. The rules were set. He was the only one that applied. He did apply. He was successfully elected, and that was also done properly. So to say that he came in through the back door is totally ridiculous and makes no sense whatsoever. And I think some people need to take a look in the mirror and wipe the grudge off their face, because they obviously have grudge on their face and don't want to get rid of it. So Chris was also talking, or put his hand up. If he would like to speak more, that's I'll wait until after he does to make the motion. But if he wants to make the motion, that's fine too.
Yeah, in the interest of time, what's the motion you'd like to make, Mr. Secretary?
I would like to move that we to call the question as it is currently with no contingencies. So to vote on the current wording with no contingencies.
Okay. Mr. Vice President, would you like to second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, go ahead, take the roll then, Mr. Secretary.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic Christensen,
What
aye.
are we
Craig
voting on?
Goldfarb.
Are we voting on the ending discussion, or are we voting on the issue?
We're voting on the wording that's in 70, which is removing Diana Nave and appointing Ray Regalado.
Because you had a motion to end the discussion. Well, you have to vote on that before you can vote on this.
There was no motion on that.
There was a motion and a second that he moved.
Yeah.
He moved. It was he was calling the question. It was very specific what he said.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's come to order then. My determination as the chairman is that we're taking 7B as it is and voting on that. And that, I believe, was the intent of Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary didn't speak against that intent. So we're continuing on with that vote now. Mr. Secretary, continue the voting.
Okay, Craig Goldfarb.
No.
Christian Guzman,
Yes.
Melanie Lebrecq,
Yes.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Alec Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Adrianita Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
Ray Regalado,
In all fairness, I believe I will just abstain.
Angela Sumner,
Yes.
Chris Valle.
Yes.
Okay, 10 ayes, 1 nay, 1 abstention. It carries.
Committee. Mr. Vice President.
Christian, there's a real bad problem with your mic.
Christian, if that was you speaking, we could not understand what you said.
It was him.
The feedback's really bad on your mic, Christian.
It's not his mic. He is just getting a poor signal from the internet. Wherever he's at in his vehicle, he's not getting a proper, he doesn't have the full power of the internet.
Right. It seems like he's got a bad data connection. So let's stand by for just a second and see if he can come back in. If not, then we will have to go ahead and proceed. Christian, can you hear us?
Chris, I think that he lost his signal. Now he's frozen.
Chris, can you continue with the meeting? Waiting to see whether we get.
All right, let's come to order, please. We're going to go ahead and continue with the next item. Assuming that it's been noted that that 7B passed and was entered. Can we scroll back down to the consent calendar, item 8?
Yes, the 7B vote has been counted.
Okay.
We're moving on to 8.
Yes, and so all of these, yeah, are all the sub items, these are all under budget and finance. Are there any others?
Yeah, it's a big agenda item,
Okay.
all of these. So it's going to be. So moving on to budget and finance, the first thing we're going to do here is the MER. So this is out of committee. We have $28,847.13 currently left. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Aye.
Dick Christensen?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Christian? Melanie, yes. Kelly Miller?
Yes.
Angela?
Aye.
Chris Valle?
Yes.
And Adrianita?
Yes.
Okay. Next item is to amend the budget for the monthly budget. Outreach has requested that they are not going to do newsletter number 2. So this is an amendment to the budget to move $4,450 over to unallocated funds, which is done here on the budget. Any discussion? This is out of committee. Chris?
Yeah, just a brief explanation. We had essentially a editorial and a kind of a strategic conversation about how those funds might be better used. A lot of the things that we would have otherwise been reporting on for a newsletter are where they were the last time we published one, and an opportunity to increase, to make more funds available for other projects seemed like it'd be a better community impact. So we decided basically just to postpone the publication of whatever comes next.
Thank you, Chris. So any other questions? Call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Yes.
Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Christian? Not there. Abstain? Okay.
Yes, I think.
Melanie, yes. Kelly Miller?
Yes.
Angela?
Aye.
Chris Follier?
Yes.
And Adrianita?
Yes.
Alrighty, next item, this budget. Now we have to approve this. This is the budget, $28,847.13 left out of committee. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Thomas?
Aye.
John Barbera?
Yes.
Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Yes.
Craig?
I have a question. I'm just looking at this at 411, you have 39 and now you have 28.
No, that's what we started with. That's just the
Okay.
date carried over.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well, the date says 411 over it, so.
Yeah,
okay.
it somehow it duplicated on that over there, but it's supposed to be over here. That's what we started with at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay, yes.
Christian? I guess abstain again. Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela?
Aye.
Christian? Chris?
Oh, yes, sorry.
Adrianita?
Yes.
Okay. So next item.
Point of order.
Mhm.
Christian Guzman is not here. You can't count him as an abstention.
Okay, it's absent.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, he is showing up, but
Yeah,
he didn't say anything.
right, would that be a not present or an absent? Or is that the same thing?
I think it's the
In
same
the past,
thing.
oh, sorry. In the past, we've called that not voted.
That makes sense.
Okay, the next item is, let's see, on the agenda. So the next item is to amend, another amendment to the budget is to amend the MPG funds from 10,000 to 18,000. Reason being is we're gonna have way too much money come June to roll over. We had a lot of applications. And so this would serve the community better by using the newsletter money and move it over and with another 3,000 and make it so that we have 18,000 for the MPG funds to give out. This is out of committee. So any discussion on this? Okay, that being said, call for the vote. John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Christian. Okay, absent still. Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Valier,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
And I would like to point out for our minute taker and our secretary that it looks like right now the president is not online. So if you want to mark the time, we'll see if he comes back.
Adrianita? You there?
It was a yes. Sorry.
Okay. All righty.
Melanie, I think you missed Thomas Norman.
Did I? Oh, Thomas. I'm sorry.
All right, I'm also a yes.
Okay, next item is, scroll down here. Oh, it's on the next one. Okay, let's see, item. No, where is it? Where? How are these loaded? Okay, there we go. The next item is, this is our domain invoice for our yearly domain for our website. It's $288. So this is out of committee. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Melanie, yes, Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Valier,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Next item is our Zoom license for $200 that we have to pay for starting in May. Any discussion on that? Chris?
Is this yearly?
Yes. We're gonna have to pick up the costs until we're off of Zoom. So, any more? Thomas,
Aye.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Christian absent now. Okay. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Valier,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay. This is the next big one. Let's see. Okay, so we received a proposal from the Port Committee. And this is a proposal for, this is their resolution. And this was posted, the package, regarding four air monitors that they want to buy with the package. This is the setup here. And this is the budget. It's $2,452.35. The only problem I have right now that came out of committee with this, should this be passed tonight, because there is no minutes that have been taken for the Port Committee, and because there is no documentation of any vote of the committee, this is going to have to be a motion, a second, and a vote of the board in order for this to pass. It will not be, it's not, we have the money for it, but it's going to have to go through the full process tonight in order for the money to be allocated. So we'll start off with Craig. Do you want to say anything first?
Yeah, first of all, I think you should amend this, because one of the other things I thought we needed was not 4 batteries, but 5. So if one battery goes dead, we could switch off.
Okay.
I put that into the note to you. I guess you
Oh, I
missed it.
thought it said on there 4 batteries. So
Yeah, it said on the thing, but I said afterwards when I gave you the additional on the memory cards, I also put on there that we should add a 5th battery to it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So the battery is number right here, this one.
yeah,
That's another 3818. So amend it to 2,500 for the budget. And that'll cover taxes and everything too.
yeah, and then I you know, and in terms of I think we should do one first because there's a lot of
They aren't
you-
going to allow us to just buy one and have the money carry over. This is going to end in January, this money, and it doesn't get to be held or rolled over or any of that. So we either buy them.
we can't
or-
buy one set and then because my problem is we're, you know, when I put this together, I went through some stuff, but there's a lot. This is pretty complicated.
Right, but I'm telling you that this money is here now, but it may not be here next year because our budget situation may be totally different next year. of
Well, I
what they
know,
give
I'm
us.
not saying extend it over a year. I'm saying purchase
Right.
one to start.
But
once-
our money goes away the 15th of June. Our money is gone the 15th of June.
I hear you. I mean, you know, open to this discussion. Maybe we should just buy one set it up, and then put it onto and then if it works out right, go to next year's budget.
Yeah.
I'm opting on the side of conservatism because this is complicated and control and stuff. I understand what it'll take to put together, but
right.
You know, and I'd hate to buy, you know, spend $2,500 and it all sit there.
Okay. Vic? Yeah,
I agree with what Craig's saying. And I have a question for Craig. If we only bought one, how long would it take to determine whether it, you know, does what we want it to do to order more? Could we do that by the time the money runs out in June?
A lot depends on how fast the purchase process is. You know, and then it'll take, you know, this has to be assembled. I have a friend that has a machine shop that I can, if we approve this, I'll ask him if we can use his machine shop to assemble it. But so we're at April. If we, you know, we have a couple months.
See, and I'll add another thing into here. We approve it at the board level tonight. We have another caveat here that we have to jump. We have to make sure that they're going to approve it at the city clerk level. And I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. 100%. So that could delay things too.
Didn't you say that somebody else had one of these?
They aren't sure how they purchased them. And it's been conveyed to me that they would rather us not have the liability and the maintenance of something like this and have somebody else be the beholding ones of it. And we just do like an MPG grant type thing.
Well, that'd be even more complicated, but in the long run, but
Chris has his hand up, and then Thomas after Chris.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd like to, I guess, start off by saying I am not at all opposed to the idea of a committee coming up with a project like this, which I would have to describe as ambitious. My concerns would be on the scale, the scope of work, and the related expertise required to execute something like this, which just seems, from the blank page, seems reasonably complicated. I guess my questions broadly would be, or considerations that I'd like the rest of the board to look at when we're doing this, is that to consider that, in terms of the mission statement of the neighborhood council, this type of, I guess you call it a technical exercise, and not just the logistical aspect of really its design, construction, installation, and maintenance of this device, but then also what is the purpose and the application of whatever data gets collected. And so what we're doing here is considering a program, an ongoing program, and the very beginnings of it would be the financial aspect of purchasing the hardware, but we don't have any kind of manual guidelines or best practices for how these things would be done. Now, in my professional life, I'm familiar with this type of thing, and it often comes along with an awful lot of rules, regulations, insurance, and things like that, of which I'm not sure to what degree we're exposed. And again, that's my earlier statement on the vote. I don't think that unless there's a specific rule prohibiting it, that we should necessarily, discount anything like this. I would just like to point out that this is a significant extension of our scope as a body. And so my personal concern and challenge would be that a robust program be in place and kind of specifically outlined so that we know, that we essentially have written the end of the story before we start at the beginning, because this is an ongoing project that is going to require, this initial big step is really actually the first of several big steps, and I'd like to know more about what happens down the line. But I'd like to applaud and encourage this kind of imaginative and innovative thinking, but we are biting off potentially quite a big piece to chew.
Greg?
Yeah, Chris, just say, I had listened to you when we spoke about this before. I also had listened to Melanie. That's why I had put in the waterproof electrical box that had a lock key on it. It's not that difficult to do. The thing about, there were two things that I had problems with this, and they were the same as you, which is we have to have a database, and we have to get a database. Now there is available information because the Purple Air site, I spoke to Purple Air about how this works. And basically, all the information that they have on the other ones are put together. So, a consideration is, how are we going to use this data and where is it going to go? And that's what was, and I was seriously looking at that because that's what we want to achieve. And there is a limitation on this because this only measures particulate matter. It doesn't measure CO2 or VOCs, which there are stuff like that available. But I do think that it would be to our benefit at least to try and get one of these put together and scale it back and see what kind of database we could, because it's money, but it's not that huge. If we bought one of them, ran it up, see if we could do it, and if we could get this together and maybe find alternatives. There are alternatives to doing CO2 and VOCs that I had been researching. It's something I think that maybe would show a maturity in our neighborhood council and being capable of doing something longer than a couple months. And I think we could put it together, and it's something we could work with our schools with. in the area. So
Yeah, and I think, now as we discuss this, I realize, really what we're supposed to be kind of looking at is just the money, basically the expenditure. I think is pretty straightforward. And that's, in terms of the concept behind this, that might, I don't suppose on the agenda, this is the right place to go through all of that. But that's just something that springs to mind when I see the beginning of it. But I think, yeah, it seems like the financial end has been, pretty well straightened out. It's really the depth of the program behind it, which I guess is probably for a different question.
Okay, my concern is here though, Craig, if we're going to do one, then what has to happen is somebody needs to amend a budget and have a figure here of make a motion for a figure and take this off the table.
I want
Because
to.
what it's going to have to be is a motion for one kit. But the other concern that I have also in light of all of this is that you've got this kit, and this is part of the pullback that I have, there's no uniformity of who's going to be in charge, who's putting it together, who's going to be the one following up, what is the program. There has to be some sort of organizational backup for this, not to just buy it and then whoever gets around to it is going to put it together and put it up and go look at it. It's like, so we've got to be very cognizant and very thoughtful that this is city money, this stakeholder money. It's not our money, it's not Northwest money, this is public money. So we've got to be thoughtful and studious the way we're spending it and make sure that we're going to use it and we're going to do it, the right way.
Yeah, a point of clarification. I guess I'm going to call out to everybody who might that really the conceptual and the program aspects of this aren't really the question that we're talking about. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, as this is coming up under budget and finance, we're really not supposed to be debating the merits of the idea. It's just the money behind it. So how, if anybody who's more, got more experience with this could give me a piece of advice, how might we, or when should we debate the merits of the project itself as opposed to the
merits go before the board.
Yeah, well, I understand. I mean, I guess
we vote on it right now. What the merits go up during discussion in front of our board.
Right, but my point was, if this is a budget and finance agenda item, really we're only talking about the money behind it. And if it's a board decision,
come up at the port committee.
Oh, right. So okay, and that's what I'm saying is that maybe we could or should move along from the financial consideration to the overall merits of the project. Does it make sense what I'm getting at? Because I don't think we're not supposed to take it all on at the same time here.
Right.
I don't see where, you have to discuss this before the board. You're going to discuss whether it's appropriate and appropriate to spend money on. Right. So even though it's a budget item, we have to say, hey, yeah, we can do this, or it's not appropriate for us to do this.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that as far as budget and finance committee, that's really just whether or not we have the money available is
right. But that's before it comes to the board, Chris, not after it comes to the board. Once it comes to the board, then it's up for all.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were doing this on the right time and space.
So I wanted to speak to two things now, because it's been a while since I put my hand up. The first was I would not want to seek an amendment to the amount. I think when you look at the percentage of the city budget, the percentage of the stakeholder budget, we're looking at $2,452 and the potential benefit to the community that we're serving of knowing what the particulate matter is on a regular basis. If one person makes a decision, preserving their health with what a day in the hospital is, right? We're serving our members, and it's frustrating for me as a new member of the port committee to go to port meetings and ask the port for the numbers on the health and safety, and I'm told there's an 18-month delay, right? That's not enough time for people to make informed health decisions, and there are several people in this community who've expressed concerns, especially when there's the big backlog. So I really applaud Craig with his research and figuring out how to do this right. There was conversation of this being 8 and not enough locations. My understanding is these will all go on city property, so liability shouldn't be any different from anything else. These are not hazardous monitors. It just air goes in them, and they will send a signal to a server that we could look at in a computer or a smartphone. To me, the main issue to consider is who will install these, right? So that is worthy of consideration. If we don't think they can be installed, I'm not in favor of spending taxpayer money for things to sit in a closet. But if we feel assured that we have the ability, and I'm willing to help, I don't know how to do all the things there, but I'm willing to help with the installation. That's part one. For part two, I'm willing to also work with the port committee or the sustainability committee to, on a monthly basis, put in our newsletter, right? That's where I think it belongs. The public, this is for the public. So those results should be able to be summarized on the website and maybe an average. And it could even be an agenda item going forward, like we do the police report, just what's the air quality. And my hope would be if this catches on, we could be a model pushing a little pressure on the port, because really there's a city agency that should be doing this, that's refusing to give information in a timely manner. And those other components of the atmosphere, I think, are important. So, I feel very comfortable approving 4. The other reason I like 4 versus 1 is if we're trying to serve our whole community, that allows us to, not just put it in. If you have 1, oh, well, why is it there? It's close to Craig. It's close, it's like, no, I'd like it to be in 4 different areas. So we're doing our best within the constraints to survey a variety. What I've learned from people from Dominguez Hills surveying air quality around the whole harbor area, I volunteered my house for that project, and my readings are very good. You'd think there's no problem, but when you get closer, down Summerlin, they're not good. So that's the other reason why I think if we're going to invest time and energy, 4 is better than 1.
Kelly?
My question is, who calibrates this, and what properties are going to determine where this goes? Or who's going to, what properties? I know you mentioned schools. Schools can't have that on their property without a lot of, a lot of different things. We already have filtration systems and HVAC and all that stuff. So I know you can't put them on schools. So what city properties would these go on? Who calibrates this? I mean, it's great. It would be great to have and to know and everything. But how do we utilize it?
And I would just like to point out briefly that Pat Nave's hand is raised.
Yeah.
Moving around. Thanks.
I'm going to him next.
I just have a lot of questions about that. I mean, specifically calibration, who's going to keep it, maintaining it, that kind of thing. What we're talking about, city properties. Do we have to have permissions from city properties before we can do something like that? I know you can't put it on a school. I don't know where else, we would be able to put it and how we would utilize it. Well, it's good information and we need it, and I understand that, but I just think that I need further research on it. I know, Craig, you've probably done a lot of research on it, but I haven't seen that. Sorry.
Pat?
I have a question about, is there some flexibility that we can build in here with these? This system is one of the 2 systems that Purple Air has. This one is the one where you don't have a terminal where you can plug it in, and where you don't have a Wi-Fi connection to the internet. So using this system is going to require using the or what do you call them, the memory cards, and then going around and pulling those out and reading them. The other system that Purple Air has is you plug it in and it automatically connects. If you have a Wi-Fi connection somewhere in the area, like at a school or a hospital or something like that, you can connect to it, automatically gets uploaded and saved, and you can read it that way. And it's also about half as much money per unit if you have a plug-in system. So is it possible to do this so that you have a ability to spend up to $2,500, but that you would also have the flexibility
Pat, I think we lost you.
We lost him.
Can I update
Yeah.
This unit does have Wi-Fi capability. So any place that there has Wi-Fi, and also Kelly, they have one at Taper. So I don't know the specificity of that. That's part of the thing. It takes time to research a lot of this stuff.
Okay,
Even this was hours, so.
so Vic, you'll be the last.
Some different air quality control things with our HVAC and stuff, but I'm
Vic-
not sure what the
Vic
system.
will be the last comment, and then we're gonna take the vote on this. Okay, Vic?
My question was going back to the quantity. Tonight, we're voting on whether we would approve the dollars to get 4 units with the changing quantity for the battery, I assume. Just because we approve $2,500 does not necessarily mean, and this is kind of a half question, half statement, that we have to buy all of them at the same time. Could we approve the $2,500 for the maximum quantity, but then still only order 1 set first to try it out, and then if it works, we spend the rest?
Right, the problem
we-
would be,
Hang on.
whether or not it would go rapidly enough to use the money by the 15th of June.
Okay, so we do actually have to expend the money by June?
Yes,
And if we approve 2,500 tonight and we don't spend it all by June,
it'll go back to the city.
the part that we don't spend just goes back to the city, and we haven't really, in a sense, lost anything.
Well, we'll lose the money and lose the.
Well, yes, but if we only vote for one, if we only vote for one, we're losing the money anyway. So
Well,
if we vote
we would allocate it somewhere else. If we don't spend the money here, we'll allocate it somewhere else.
if we vote for it tonight and then we find we're not going to use it, can we reallocate it before June?
It depends on how fast everybody acts on it. If we wait until the 1st of June, no.
So
Because-
basically, if we approve the full amount now, we would have to reallocate what we think we're not going to use by May.
Right,
Yeah, that sounds right.
yeah,
Okay, then based on that, I don't know if you want to do it or you want me to do it, but I will move that we approve the slightly amended amount to 2,500 because of the extra battery, to be approved tonight, and then I guess by May we decide whether we're going to reallocate if we need to. So
okay, you're gonna move it,
I will move it.
so we need a second,
I'll second that.
okay. Now, I'm gonna,
Who
We've had this-
seconded and who made the motion and who seconded, please?
Vic moved for 2,500 for approval of air monitor.
Christensen moved and Valle seconded.
Thank you.
So in lieu of all of the discussion that we've had already, I'm gonna move to the vote. I think we've had enough. So call for the vote, Thomas,
Yes.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, very good. So that's it for budget and finance stuff tonight. Thank you so much. Oh, wait, no, it isn't. Excuse me. I get a big kick in the head. The big thing is next. So moving on to the next major item that we have to cover tonight. So because we passed the 1,800, so these are the recommendations, and we have to vote for each one out of, so please bear with me on this. We had a lot of applications for MPGs. what the final result was is that the first one that we're recommending is $3,000 for Rainbow Services Women's Shelter to support a new in-house education program to support survivors of domestic violence and their children. So any discussion? Okay, so call for the vote. Thomas,
Aye.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray, Ray,
You're muted.
Sorry. Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Vallier,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is Feed and Be Fed to establish a work experience program for 2 unhoused neighbors at the Christian Science Center, $1,000. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas,
Aye.
John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Ray,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
let's see, Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Vallier,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Next one is Assistance League. Dressing appropriately for climate and fitting with peers makes school attendance easier for children whose families lack resources. Due to low income or homeless status, these children often become subject to bullying, teasing, as well as being vulnerable to weather. Each child will be provided with $100 of clean new clothing for school, including any need outwear, shoes, items that cannot be purchased secondhand, such as underwear and socks. Recommendation is $3,000. Any discussion?
Yeah,
Right.
I had a question. John Barbera's on your committee?
John Barbera? Oh, yes, he is. Oh, excuse me, John.
And was he part of this discussion about where the money went?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
And okay, you know what I'm talking about here.
Yes,
So
because he's on Assistance League, yes, and he's going to recuse himself from the vote and everything, and he did.
That is correct. Yeah.
I think you should go off. Turn your camera off.
So that being said, Thomas,
Yes.
John Barbera is recused. Ray,
Yes.
Vic,
Aye.
Craig,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Vallier,
Yes.
and Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, next is Meals on Wheels. 1.5 million meals served to needy and elderly since 1972, Monday through Friday, 2 meals delivered to volunteers homebound. Funds will be used to pay for a replacement kitchen freezer as food storage is imperative. So $2,000. Thomas,
Yes.
Victor,
Aye.
is John Barbera back?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Ray,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly,
Oops. Yes.
Angela,
Aye.
Chris Vallier,
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Next is Willenberg School. It's a special school that's over at Weymouth Corners. It's supplies for beautification for brick sign in front of school to create a mosaic wall project guided by Jill Bender, who will aid students and staff to create the design. $3,500. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas.
Aye.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic.
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Angela.
Aye.
Chris Valier.
Yes.
And Adrianita.
Yes.
Okay, and then San Pedro Art Association. Art competition for youth. Money will be used for outreach, promotion materials, YouTube videos, podcast refreshments at Crafted, and publication, scanning, printing of art. $1,000. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas.
Yes.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Victor.
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Melanie. Kelly.
Yes.
Angela.
Aye.
Chris.
Yes.
And Adrianita.
Yes.
Two more, you guys. Sorry. So the Skate Park Association. This grant will be used to hire to beautify. This is what they talked about at their presentation that they weren't supposed to. Channel Skate Park area, the two pillars holding up the 110 freeway and the wall facing Pacific Avenue. $2,000 for them.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Mhm.
Did they say during their presentation that the artists would be volunteering their time?
They said that the artists, for some of them, were. That the one internally they did, but they were trying to hire somebody for the Pacific Corridor.
I believe they
Okay.
said that, yeah, that the existing one was volunteered and
Yeah.
what they had planned.
Okay. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Thomas.
Yes.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Vic.
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Angela.
Aye.
Chris Valier.
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
And the last one is Los Angeles Maritime Institute. Lemmy awards under-resourced school scholarships to top sale programs. It's an at-sea learning adventure for 10 to 18-year-old youth to further STEM learning. This would include Park, Western Elementary, Taper, and Dana. $2,500. Any discussion? Okay, Thomas.
Yes.
John Barbera.
Yes.
Victor.
Aye.
Ray.
Yes.
Craig.
Yes.
Melanie, yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Angela.
Aye.
Chris Valier.
Yes.
Adrianita.
Yes.
Done, you guys. This is awesome, you guys. We did so much good here with these grants. It's so amazing. This is like for us to be able to do this. This don't happen every fiscal year. It's just that we have, because of Zoom, we have all this extra money. So the next thing, I'm gonna hold the reins here because public safety is next on the agenda. So the next thing here is, if I can get this over here. The first thing, okay, this is the first thing on the agenda. So the committee, we wrote a letter because, and what I'm gonna see if this thing doesn't screen share for, does it, Chris, for like pictures?
I think it'll share whatever's on your screen. The only video is sometimes difficult, but I think any other image should come through.
Kind of what motivated this. And Thomas, you guys have seen this already, you and your son, when you've come over for the cleanup that we had. But let me see.
Did you have the image in another tab? You might have been able to go to it.
There we go.
Yeah, we see it.
Can you see it? So what they did is they've just put asphalt down here, and they've done this to other sidewalks in the community all over the place. All they're doing is pouring asphalt in it and leaving it like this. Let me show you the other one. They pour asphalt in it and they'll leave it like elevated all over. And so it's like a skateboard jump. And so it's not ADA appropriate at all. And they've done this all over in the central community, in Northwest, and other areas. And it's bad. So what has happened is we wrote a letter, and this is the letter. And it says, sidewalk maintenance and repair are a necessity in our community. We are a city in need to work to strengthen communities by advocating on issues that matter most to older adults, as well as those with children and those with disabilities. The city of Los Angeles is experiencing a sizable increase in its older population, an expected nationwide trend as baby boomers age. According to the LA Controller's Office, over 764,000 residents of the city of Los Angeles are considered older adults 60 plus, and this population is projected to exceed 1 million by 2030, when nearly 1 in 4 Angelenos will be over the age of 60. The city needs to be more age-friendly within very diverse culture, socioeconomic context, and a commitment to promote healthy and active aging and quality of life for older adults. Sidewalks are a critical link connecting older adults and their families to public transportation, social activities, economic opportunities, and community services. It is critical to have walkable sidewalks and sidewalks that are accessible to motorized accessibility devices. The current city repair program is not ADA compliant, nor is it senior friendly. Repairing with asphalt to leave sidewalks looking like skateboard ramps is not adequate repair, nor is it ADA friendly. A local example here in San Pedro is on Capitol Drive in front of Target. It is dangerous and has been completed for repair twice on 311 and told this is an adequate repair. We ask that you review your sidewalk repair policies and make the ADA compliant and not a safety hazard to the community. Okay, so hands. Thomas?
Yeah, you beat me to it. I wanted to talk about the ADA concern. Do we have any way of strengthening this, or anybody we know with expertise that could really, validate it's not passable? Because it looks, totally ridiculous to me, and expose our community to problems and the city to, to lawsuits. But maybe I just don't have the legal expertise to say that that's true, though I believe it's true. So I'm wondering if that level of follow-up will be needed to strengthen our case.
Well, I think this letter needs to be CC'd to everybody. The mayor, the city council, the head of street services needs to have his name added on to this, and and just CC everybody under the sun, because this is ridiculous. And it's not just here on Capitol. There are other streets that are like this. I've seen them. And this is not a repair. This is not a repair. This is neglect. Diane? You're muted still, Diana.
Thank you. Yeah. In the final sentence of the first paragraph, I think you meant to say it has been reported for repair, right?
Local example, it's, no, they completed it. They completed.
Okay, repair has been done twice.
Yes, they've.
Okay, the way it was.
They completed the 311 request twice, saying that it's been repaired.
Okay. So,
Craig?
Okay. You know, the city's been in an effort to try and transfer back responsibility of the sidewalks to the homeowners and the businesses. And which is unfortunate because they keep trying to do it in such a way that it's, you know, they're not going to repair it before they return it back. They're just going to return it back. But maybe we should look at it, you know, as two different things, because they've always tried, if sidewalks are in front of commercial property, they have to take responsibility for it. And then in terms of private property, we have to look at it somewhere, a different way of handling it.
Yeah. It's Target though, you know, and other places it's not just a business. It's people, some people are poor. They can't afford to put out their pocket. I mean, my mom lives in central area where they're very poor down below Pacific, and their sidewalks are like that. There's no way they're able to pay out of their pocket and have the city reimburse them.
Well, that's basically what I'm saying, because there's two policies. One would be, I mean, it's not real difficult to force somebody like the warehouses or Target and stuff like that to repair the sidewalks in front of their buildings. We're supposed to take some responsibility there. And I understand what you're saying. That's why I was saying it the way I did, was we need to probably look at maybe doing two policies. One for commercial, you know, property, you know, sidewalks in front of commercial property, and another one for sidewalks in front of residential property.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, you know, in the Issues Committee, Dan and I, we drove around to some. We had some emails sent to us. And I'll tell you what, the one that you just showed a picture of is compared to, I could show you one between 8th and 9th Street on Patton. As a matter of fact, it's more close to the corner of 8th Street. It is so high, the curb, because of the tree that's there, that is so old, that a child can crawl underneath the curb. It's got about 1.5 feet, almost maybe close to 19 inches, that curb is raised up, and it's like a tunnel to go under there. And it's pretty disgusting what's out there for some of our sidewalks and stuff. As you know, Melanie, right on our street on Myler.
Yeah.
Right there between Gittoon and Capitol, that tree, that I've seen people fall. And, you know, Dan and I had talked to a couple of people from the city, and their answer was, well, you know, we'd rather pay $30-40 million a year for anybody that has a lawsuit. That's truly an answer we got from them.
Angela?
I was walking actually down Capitol yesterday over that one right in front of Target, and it has pink spray painted lines on it now. I don't know if that's new or not, but I was curious if that meant maybe they were doing something, or if they're just acknowledging it's a hazard because it's marked up with pink spray. It's been there. Okay.
Chris?
Yeah, I guess I'm curious about the background legality of all this. So what would be, since I know we've had these discussions about responsibility for sidewalk maintenance in the past, and it seems that in terms of street services and with tree trimming and things like that, usually the approach of the city has been to wait for someone to file a claim and then respond. Like there's a tree branch fell on a car at April and 9th a couple of years ago, and it seemed pretty obvious that the branch could be a problem, but someone had to have their car crushed before it was acted upon. And so does anyone have any specific or background knowledge on, you know, is there an official policy? Is it something where they simply don't ever give a straight answer and just wait to get sued, as John said? And then the other question would be, in terms of coming up with some sort of recommendation or suggestion, is it legal to make different types of requirements for a private business as opposed to a residence. Is that something, that could have any teeth? But yeah, the location that John mentioned is about half a block from my house, and I've seen it. And even the things that they've proposed is in terms of repair or these patches don't seem to be anywhere near what the ADA requirements are. And I've seen LA County Public Works measuring and installing, and there are specific angles and heights, and there's real specific technical requirements for curbs and those sorts of things. And I don't know if those are grandfathered in from the time that the thing is first constructed, and then if there's force majeure, an act of God that puts it out of alignment, if we simply have to live with it. Which would mean that, how is it that someone could then fall over it and sue them? If they're, so if they are ultimately liable, is there some way to leverage that? I mean, I suppose if the city simply won't budge and is going to wait for someone to take the initiative and file suit, I don't know what it is we might suggest to them that would make them change course, unless someone could show that it was cheaper for them to be more responsible. But that it seems, considering how old and a problem this is, even us thinking of the right questions to ask, it seems like a huge issue. And this is a great start. But I would also like to point out in conclusion that those hazards would apply to anybody, not just if they're elderly or disabled. If your arms are full, or if it's dark, or you simply aren't looking for a foot wide gap in the pavement, you can become very.
And what started this for me to put this on the agenda is living right here, and this old lady with her walker fell over that before my public safety meeting. And that's why it went on the agenda. And I went out and helped her and picked her up. It's unacceptable. And if I have to go stand on the mayor's desk, I will, because it's unacceptable.
It does seem like a real basic public safety issue. And it's amazing to me that, there's a lot of things that get Band-Aids and get pushed to the back burner, but I'm surprised this doesn't come up more often, and it isn't become too expensive for them to ignore, but here we are.
Right.
One of the things that I have experienced in asking the question about this particular thing in a specific community was the fact that there is a hesitancy also of doing something that will harm the tree that lifted that piece of sidewalk. And because they'll have from another angle, people who are tree friendly, and that they will say you can't tear down this very old tree or whatever. I say that only because it might behoove us to perhaps get somebody out from sidewalk repair or from some appropriate agency to come out and talk to us about what their policy is, how they approach it, so that as a suggestion was made earlier, that perhaps maybe refine the request so that it's based on informed decision making, given the information that they have given us to the community.
Ray,
then we could, just a second, Melanie, because then sometimes just by the fact that we get somebody out, they give a reason, that reason isn't necessarily supported. Sometimes the community in itself will also, get really behind this and also advocate for better sidewalks and good remedies.
A little background on this is, after the second 311 rejection, I contacted Street Services head, Stephen Hernandez, who is the head of Street Services. He, in no unheard terms, told me that until Target pays their way, they aren't paying any more city money.
What?
Because it's their faulty construction that caused this.
I'll go back. I brought a situation up at Hank many years ago regarding a need for repair. And when I went to the agency, the appropriate agency, just asking the question, they said that they won't do it unless they're forced to do it.
Yeah.
Fixing, doing the
And
fix.
that's why I decided the mayor.
When you ask them publicly, they come back with a completely different answer that says, oh, we don't have funding, or we have to share the cost, or whatever it is. So, I really love to be able to get these guys, whoever, like I said, the appropriate agency is, get them on the record as to why they will not repair a sidewalk the way it should be, so that we have the ability to go back and hold them accountable for whatever it is that they're saying they can and can't do. So that's all I'm saying. Perhaps maybe we get someone out, let them explain their policy, why they will or will not do certain things when it comes to sidewalks, and then create a document or a request in and around the reason, so that we could make sure that we have it. I heard the thing, do one for commercial, do one for residential. Sounds good on the surface, but is it appropriate? Would it really work? I don't know.
Yeah.
But if we had someone out, we might be able to get a better feel as to maybe that is the appropriate way of doing it.
Octaviano.
Thanks, Melanie. Zach Taviano, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. Just a reminder that every year, neighborhood councils have an opportunity to develop a community impact statement for the mayor's proposed budget. So this, among many your other neighborhood public works needs, may be included in a letter listing all of your public works priorities. What I would suggest is being specific as to the location's address. So if that lifted sidewalk is in front of a home, list that address where that lifted sidewalk is located in front of or adjacent to. And of course, a picture is the best storyteller. So adding a picture in your community impact statement, sending it to the Board of Public Works, along with your other decision makers during the budget development process, would probably be a good recommendation on an annual basis. Thank you.
Craig?
As an aside, I mean, there's a lot of people that are gonna, say, oh, you can't hurt the trees, like somebody else said. I wanted to go make a motion to, get all the old train tracks covered up that are no longer being used, because I was personally affected. I ran by one and it was in bad repair. My bike went down and I ended up with a broken wrist. And somebody on the land use, a few people on the land use and planning committee wanted to look at it differently. And instead of repairing this stuff, or looking to get this stuff repaired or taken care of, they would rather, have their other issues taken care of. It's, I wonder how this would hit in sustainability, knowing their way of looking at stuff. So I have no problem with this.
Yeah.
But I do think this is something you need to start looking at.
Okay. So call for the vote on the letter. So Thomas?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Vic?
Aye.
Ray?
Okay, yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Melanie? Yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela?
Aye.
Chris Vallier?
Yes.
And Adrianita?
Yes.
And Alec?
Yes.
Okay, and then the last thing, this is council file. It's called Establishment of Emergency Medical Corp, Establishment of Preventative Medical Services. Basically what this does is a volunteer medical corps for the homeless, so that they aren't taking away from the general medical services like fire department, all of that. because what they're finding that they occupy, the unhoused seem to occupy a lot of our services and occupy it. So that somebody is having another emergency in town, and there are a lot of unhoused people, especially in downtown LA and stuff. If they're taking a lot of their services, then it delays services getting to the taxpayers. And so this will be like establish emergency medical corps in different housing areas or different areas, so that they won't be using 911 calls and emergency rooms for just the homeless as primary medical care. This is out of committee, and this is the motion right here. So any discussion? Vic?
I'm torn on this one because while yes, people need medical care, I can't help but wonder if the resources would be better used to get them off the street rather than make them healthy on the street.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of almost a flip of the coin as to which way would be the better way to go, because I just don't see why it would be better to keep them healthy on the street rather than get them off the street and give them the resources to stay off the street.
Chris?
Yeah, and I guess to your question, Vic, at least from my perspective, and in broader discussion, the root causes of homelessness are so big and so vast that the amount of money or the amount of time and attention that might be given to this program wouldn't necessarily affect the root causes of homelessness. And until those things are dealt with at the state and federal level or societal level, that there will always be a need for triage and treatment. Someday, whatever solution we arrive at, there will still possibly be a need for these types of things. And if there's something that people can volunteer to do now that is organized and kind of administered by the city, I consider it to be a push in the right direction, if not, a real substantial change in direction.
Craig?
I'm concerned about this more because it looks like it's, trying to place the unhoused or the homeless population as a different category. And that concerns me a lot. When we start saying certain members, these are citizens, these are stakeholders. And when we start separating off citizens and stakeholders into a separate category, it's not a good thing. I would like to take a real big look at this. I would maybe think we should table this and review it again. And maybe, and because it doesn't, there's something that doesn't smell right about this to me, but, and I'm concerned. Could we have it back into committee and review it again?
It's out of committee.
I know, can we
And
refer?
it's going to public safety to be voted on for the city.
I understand, but I mean, that doesn't mean.
All it's saying is establishing a volunteer group.
Yes, I understand, but I think
away from all the ambulances.
The board can send this back to committee and I think we should either send it back to committee or table it.
We would need to have a motion to that effect.
I make a motion that to send it back to committee or table it.
Well, I think you'd have to pick.
You got to choose one.
Yeah.
I could choose two, but I move that we send this back to committee for review.
And do we hear a second? Okay, hearing none, are we going to continue discussion?
We'll continue. Angela?
Okay, my concerns are actually very much similar to Craig's, but I'm just wondering if there's anything here. I mean, if these volunteers aren't available, are these individuals still able to access all the public services?
Yeah, it just gives
It-
extra. It's extra to them. So that it's, our city system isn't taxed
Mhm.
to provide extra for them. So they aren't going in and using the emergency room for their medical provider.
How is it determined, like if someone needs assistance, then somebody calls the emergency team, and if the emergency team, the volunteer team's not available,
Then the ambulance comes for the
then the
emergency.
ambulance
Yeah.
comes?
This is just to help pick up the slack,
Uh-huh.
basically, is what it's for.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, but like Craig, I kind of have this uneasy feeling about designating two different categories of care for people. But
I
if
think
it's
this
just
is
in addition
extra.
to,
This is in addition to, this is extra for them,
okay,
from what I've read and understood. This is an extra. And a lot
Okay.
of the housing authority and the homeless advocates are advocating for this.
okay. Okay, thank you for elaborating on that.
Okay. Ray?
So I'm reading the motion, and the motion is quite clear that they're looking for a committee to look at the feasibility or to report on with recommendations on the establishment of a volunteer emergency medical corps. So is our vote to support the fact that we need a
Yes.
emergency medical corps, or that we're supporting that they actually do a recommendation?
Recommend establish a volunteer emergency medical corps.
Okay,
Why?
so essentially you're suggesting that they're going to, there's going to be one eventually.
Right.
Okay.
Chris?
I think this might be, if you could scroll down again for me, I think I might have ask a point of clarification. It looks like the motion here is about, right, the last paragraph would be, is asking for a report of recommendations. And what
Right.
our letter is for is to ask for the establishment of the service itself. So we're not, oh, Diana's shaking her head. So again, this is what I'm asking for. Somebody clarify this for me. Is the motion asking for the study, essentially a feasibility study? Is that different than what we're asking for?
And then this is the summary.
I see.
Melanie, would you go back up to the CIS, the proposed CIS? Because I think this proposed CIS, doesn't it just support the council motion? Which
Yeah,
is-
it supports the council.
It supports the report back.
Yeah,
That's all it does.
yeah.
All right, thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to call for the vote. Thomas?
Yes.
John Barbera?
Yes.
Vic?
Come back to me, please.
Ray?
Yeah.
Craig?
No.
Melanie, yes. Kelly?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Chris Valier?
Yes.
Alec?
Yes.
Adrianita?
Yes.
And Vic?
Abstain.
Okay. Alrighty. There, I'm done.
Very well. Okay, and I'd like to point out that it is 8:44 and 30 seconds. We'd like to try and be expedient and brief with the remainder of our agenda, but please continue.
So, let's see, what do we have? Executive.
Right, having been, well, I missed the statistical majority of the last executive committee meeting. but it's the item here, this C1 is to consider further recommendations regarding proposed code of conduct. So do we have any additional commentary or recommendations to consider?
Would you like me to speak to that?
If you'd like to, go right ahead.
Sure, that will, let's see, can I screen share? Or does someone else want to put it up?
Diana would have to be made a co-host to do that, I believe.
At the last, okay. Continue. Stop. There. Yes, if we had some recommendations, because these were the ones that were presented at and voted on at the executive committee. At the last board meeting, this board approved some comments on Bonk's draft revisions to the code of conduct. And so what you have before you tonight is a follow-up to those comments. This is a motion that builds on those comments by providing 7 specific recommendations. One of the things that it's one thing to comment that we didn't like what was proposed, but then to follow up and give some recommendations on what we would suggest. So the first thing it does is it proposes that language be added to the current code of conduct, indicating how it is that the code of conduct could be enforced. And that would be, by our recommendations, that it would be enforced using the censure and removal policies. The second thing is that the code of conduct that currently exists does have a couple of things that do need to be broadened. Right now, the current code only applies to bullying and harassment to board members where a protected class is involved. So the recommendations propose to broaden the language in the current code to include bullying and harassment of stakeholders as well by board members, and to delete the language that unnecessarily limits bullying and harassment to situations where a protected class is involved. That is, bullying and harassment should apply to any bullying or harassment of other board members, as well as bullying or harassment of members of the public at neighborhood council functions. It's reiterating of the board's prior position that violations of the code of conduct should be handled through the censure and removal process, not by the general manager of done, and recommends some revisions to the required censure and removal language that occurs in all of the bylaws citywide. And the suggested revisions would make it a little bit easier to file a censure and removal motion, allow for a more timely response, simplify the language and clarify the process for censure and removal by moving some of the language into standing rules, and adds notification to the city attorney of any censure or removal motions being considered. So that's recommendations 3 and 4. The next recommendation has to do with appeals of censure motions. Right now, the body that's responsible for hearing appeals is the bonk. And this suggests that instead of the bonk, it be the grievance panel. The grievance panel is a panel made up of other neighborhood council members. It also recommends that the process that's used for grievances, which involves presentation of the motion by a representative appointed by the Board of Neighborhood Council and a response by the board member who's the subject of the removal, be included. The next thing it does is it shortens the time. It provides a time saying that any appeal should be filed within 7 days of action by the board. Then it provides a sample standing rule. If the language being removed from the bylaws would then be put into a standing rule, and then the standing rule would be specific to each neighborhood council. So that's what what this one is, some sample language on process. And then the last one is it recommends that BONC develop a separate process for dealing with acts of violence, both between board members and those involving a board member and stakeholders. Acts of violence must be acted on immediately and should not be subject to the slower censure and removal policy. So included in your packet were also redline versions of all of the things that are described in here. So that was the recommendations that were voted out of the executive committee.
Very good. Craig, go ahead.
Okay, I object to this whole process. When I presented my letter last time, it came out of committee. We wrote part of it in the committee. I was to take comments from other people and then was requested, and I said that I would take it to the executive board. At no time was this taken to a committee that we have. What is the purpose of having committees if Diana Nave and Ray Regalato, who, when I went on to the executive board meeting, was consulting with Diana Nave on how to do this and what to do. What is the purpose of having committee? We should be sending this back to committee, and Ray should be recusing himself from this, so that we should discuss this as a committee. That's why we put this committee together. And that's why we sent the last time the Board of Conduct back to committee to be done. I move that we send this all back to committee. Do I have a second?
That's actually my place to call for the second, but we hear one? All right, is there any further discussion? All right, well then let's, in the interest of time, let's move ahead and call for the vote. I'm just working off the screen, so forgive me if I missed anyone. I'm just going to go in visual order. Melanie?
Well, you want me to do it, Chris?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Vic. Yeah, I'm my picture is literally changing, and I'm having trouble keeping up. Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah, it bounces around.
Yeah.
Okay, I already got Melanie, so John Barbera,
Yes.
Vic Christensen, aye. Craig Goldfarb,
No.
Kelly Miller,
Yes.
Alec Norman,
Yes.
Thomas Norman,
Yes.
Ray Regalato,
Yes, I'm sorry, I will recuse myself.
okay, Adrian Reyes Cruz,
Yes.
Angela Sumner,
Aye.
Chris Valle.
Abstain.
Okay, we have 8 ayes, 1 no, 1 abstention, 1 recusal, so it carries.
Thank you very much. And now, and again, we are.
As on.
It looks like we're live again.
Okay.
I think that it was. It seems like an arbitrary time on the clock to have stopped, but it looks like we're back. All right. So, which is a great reminder of how much time we have left. So, in terms of committee reports, again, having been absent, is there a separate executive committee report to give? Okay. We've well, let's put it this way. Do any of the committee chairs have reports to present?
Just public safety has CPAB real quick, and I'll just go real glance over it. Just 2 things that had to be pointed out on that, and then it's done.
Sure, go ahead then.
So first thing is this new ordinance 4118. So what's happening is they're designating certain areas that homeless can't be. And Lori talked about this in her homeless report, and they talked extensively with the neighborhood prosecutor and everything at CPAB. And what's happening is they're designating certain areas with signage that the councilman designates, and they can't be there on the sidewalk or camped out or anything. And what's happening is the biggest concern, and I'm just going to summarize this, is a lot of neighborhoods are concerned, including stakeholders that showed up from Northwest, that we're seeing an uptick in Northwest area of homelessness. And what's happening is these signs go up around the Vagabond and are starting to go up around the Bridge Housing and other places, it's going to be whack-a-mole. What they're doing is they're pushing them up into other areas. And so it's not really solving any problem. It's just removing them from certain areas and pushing them to other areas. That's where part of the problem is and the concern. Certain rule, the 4118 is enforceable if it's not designated, if they're in front of your home, blocking your driveway. If they're in front of your business, blocking your business. If they're by a fire hydrant, all of those are actionable by LAPD to come and remove them. It's two different groups of Department of Sanitation cleans up. The LAPD enforces to move them. So it's a process. But it's all laid out here. The other thing is we have another SLO, and it's Paul Ulner, and his information I will share with you guys. I can email it all to you for the new SLO, but he is the acting SLO right now. And so I just got an email recently on that. The other thing is this food cart task force that one of the stakeholders has been talking about. They did the task force, but part of the problem that's incurred with this food cart task force thing is they come about them and they don't have a license. They don't have public, any of the certifications that they need, but they don't have identification. So they can't cite them or anything because they don't present ID. And so they've ran into a big roadblock to enforce this now because they aren't presenting ID. And so we're working with Erica Vasquez to see what else can be done. So, yeah. So it's a problem. It is a problem. So what we're going to try and do is raise awareness of what the negative actions are to use these carts. As far as sanitation, they aren't sanitized. They don't have health permits. They, all of that. We've got a flyer from LA Department of Health that sent us this to distribute and put on our website, possibly to show, what you look for a food cart, if they have a grade, or B, and all of that, just like you do a restaurant. Chris?
Thanks real quickly. So the food cart vendor task force, is that staffed by sworn officers or is
Yes, it's LAPD and the LA health inspectors.
And so if these people that they encounter don't have identification, how is that? I mean, again, this is going to be completely apocryphal, but are you not supposed to have ID on you as an adult?
You're supposed to, but it's something I was on an email that I received about response to it, that they've been instructed by the county and LA City Council not to harass them or ask for it.
Okay, so it's essentially a discretionary enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is that the?
That's it.
Anything else okay, so we are sneaking up. We have just about a minute or so left. Under liaison reports, Dan Dixon is obviously not present. As Public Works liaison, I would like to request, and I'm going to put something together through my capacity as youth and outreach about the issues with the sidewalks that we brought up earlier in the meeting. So as Public Works liaison, what I'm going to do is start to put some evidence together. Essentially, I have a professional background in precondition surveys as a photographer. So if people will email me, it's cbvalle@gmail.com. Any examples, any locations you have?
Do you want these pictures, Chris, that I used tonight?
Yeah, exactly. That type of thing is perfect. So send me a picture, send me an address, and I will go take photos if we don't have them existed. And what I'm going to start to do, in addition to putting out some social media requests for the same type of information, is that we have to start somewhere. So if we start to put together a database of what's happening in Northwest, and I know personally, again, the one that's close to my house, there's obvious hazards, and simply start to build a case however far it can go. If we have pictures and if we have essentially testimonials to that effect, it can give us something to deliver. And then maybe attach that to a request to have someone come and present and speak to us from Street Services at one of our board meetings.
Chris, do you want the photos I have, or you'll just
Yes,
take some fresh ones?
Yes, please. Well, I'll probably walk down there anyway, but yeah, send me what you have and I'll start with that and add to it as I can.
Okay.
All right, and it is exactly 9 o'clock.
Chris, you've got a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have Diana Nave. Please unmute yourself.
Did you want to take the planning committee report?
Yes, please.
Okay, you have a fuller report in the packet, but just the highlight, the main thing that we did at the planning committee was to look at the plan to house LA and how they're going to proceed to decide what kinds of areas get upzoned, because they're going to have to upzone, create about 250,000 rezoning through rezoning. The list that they put together actually would create 1.4 million more units, so 5 times what's needed. So now they're going to have to pare the list down, or we'll be paring the list down. Originally, they thought they were going to have 3 years to do it, and the state just passed another law that now gives them only until October to do it. So their plan to get community input, they're not sure now how they're going to manage to do that in such a short time period. The list for San Pedro is in the minutes of the meeting. So if you want to see, a particular area and what is planned, you can look. Well, the first link you see up there was actually to the presentation, but the second link, it's floating around. There's a link in there that you can use to see by address in San Pedro what's being proposed. And then you also need to look and see there's a number of different strategies that they're proposing. And so at our meeting this week, the Northwest Committee will actually look more closely at the candidate properties in Northwest and discuss which ones are more acceptable and which ones we might want to recommend strongly against. Then I had a couple of updates with regard to the proposed marketplace at Target. We have heard that the developers are redesigning the plan. We don't know what this means. We're hopeful they're responding to some of our concerns. I will be trying to get a hold of planning to see if I can find out more. 345 Miraflores, the art pound, is for sale and it's being advertised for self-storage. They have not, however, submitted any plans to the city yet to do that, but that's their intent, is to submit plans for self-storage there. And the last thing I wanted to say was, if you're interested in the plans for the redevelopment of Rancho San Pedro, the draft specific plan is going to be presented at the joint planning committee meeting on April 27th. Other than that, look at the report.
Thanks very much. And just a quick clarification. When you said marketplace at Target, that you were talking about the restaurant development?
Yeah, that's what they're calling. We're calling it. Yeah, the restaurant development.
Go ahead, Vic.
Do you know when the revised plans are supposed to be ready so we can look at them?
No, I don't. And I don't even know what they're revising. So we just know they're being revised.
All right, everyone, it is 9:04 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And thank you all for I think, very productive, and we've got some work done and we've got some things to work on, which is always nice to have some momentum going through. And hopefully this will be like us getting back to quote unquote normal as soon as possible. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn if one.
So moved.
So moved.
Seconded. Moved by Vic Christensen, seconded by Craig Goldfarb. If there are no objections. All right, we're going to adjourn. Thank you very much. I'll see you sooner than later. And again, please send me that information about the street stuff. I'll get right on it because I have a little bit of free time.
Thank Chris.
Thanks, guys.
Thomas, Mr. Norman.
Yes.
Yeah, if offline